Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Football Inc. It's a breaking news moment out of Fabrizio Romano, a Rom Bomb exclusive. We're back here with Johnny H3232 as we hear two stories emerging at the exact same time that are going to affect the Premier League in a major way. First and foremost, we have the story that Chelsea have just got the here we go on Joao Pedro from Brighton. At the same time, Viktor Gyökeres has come out with some absolutely amazing quotes. Again, referenced and confirmed by Fabrizio Romano following this statement from the sporting chairman regarding his ability to sell Gyökeres this summer. Before we get into that, let's find out how Johnny H is doing. How are you, Johnny?
I'm great. It just shows you just when you think it's safe to go out, back in the water, right? Have a nice, chill, relaxing time. News breaks. It's transfer window time. And this is a big one. I thought this was going to drag on for a while, Sean. But unlike other clubs, Chelsea don't mess around. They wanted Gittins. They got Gittins. They wanted this one. They got him.
They wanted Lee and Delap. They wanted it. Yeah, they got it. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? When you've got an owner that's just willing to do business and just not going into negotiations as a zero-sum game where someone has to win and someone has to lose, things can move fairly fast. It doesn't always happen that way for most teams, Chairman, but for Chelsea fans, this is massive. Let's just confirm the news. Before we get into that, guys, please drop a like on the video if you enjoy the content. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. We're a sort of small fledgling channel, but we're growing very fast. The live streams on a daily basis, going through all of the transfer news, views, and clues. But this one is an upload extraordinaire because we had to bring this to your attention the second that it drops. Here we go. Johnny, Fabrizio Romano has dropped Joao Pedro to Chelsea. Here we go. Agreement done club to club for fee in excess of £50 million. Joao will travel on Tuesday for medical tests and contract signing, ready for the FIFA Club World Cup. So he can jump on the plane and get across to America, can he? Is that how it works?
I thought that there was a cut-off. I thought there was a cut. What, anyone could just sign? You just sign them and pop them into the team? I don't know how that works.
That was the whole point of the first transfer window, wasn't it? But
that's what I thought. But maybe Fabrizio's got it wrong. Who knows? But normally he's pretty good, pretty right.
Absolutely.
Listen, look, I mean, he's a top player. I mean, look, 27 games last season, 10 goals, and was it 7 assists or 7 assists? But he played in various positions, but he had quite a few niggly injuries. As you can see, look, he's played as a second striker. He's played as a centre forward. He's played left wing. He's played in about 4 or 5 different positions.
Mainly as a straight front guy.
Yeah.
Where do you see him fitting in the pecking order at Chelsea, mate?
I mean, honestly, what have they told him? I mean, how have they sold this to him? You're going to be playing all the Champions League games, and someone else is, and Delap's going to be playing. Look, I think he's more mobile. He's a different player to Delap, and I think they'll complement each other. Is he ever going to play 2 up front? I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting one. Something's got to give. Who's going? And Cuckoo?
Well, I think if Cuckoo was like a second sort of support striker that didn't really. Obviously, hasn't hit the ground running at Chelsea. Bad injury when he first arrived, hasn't really worked out. He's certainly surplus to requirements. If you're bringing in 2 players that predominantly play through the middle, with Cole Palmer, who's the obvious sort of starting 10 that can occasionally come off the right hand side, unless they're going to do something a little bit out of the ordinary, then you'd imagine that it's sort of time at the bar, isn't it? Definitely for Christopher Nkunku and possibly even Nicholas Jackson.
Well, I think. Look, something's got to give. Look, Gittins is coming in. Does that mean who's going? Neto's not going. Is it Noni that's going to be going?
Yeah, I'd imagine Madueke will make his way out.
Are Chelsea doing all their business before they start selling players? That's the thing. I mean, I think Delap and Joao Pedro. You might find Joao Pedro plays as a second striker. He can play as drop a little bit deeper. And he can play out wide on that left. So I think he's a very, very good player. I mean, he's 23, 24 in September. Lots of growth left on him. I think it's a fantastic signing, personally. Where most people were looking at the big names, the Seskos, the Gyokeres, and the Victor Osimhen's, Chelsea have gone for Prem proven player and a very good striker. I mean, if you do your fantasy football, he was in mine for quite a bit of time, scoring points. I'm not sure he'll be in it this season if Gyökeres comes in. But look, I think it's a great call by Chelsea. Again, they're just buying up anyone and anyone they fancy. They are not messing around like Liverpool and Man City. Find your target, identify them, do the business. A lesson to be taught to all the other clubs who are faffing about in the transfer market right now.
Where would you place? Sorry, mate. Finish your point.
I was just saying, it's just one down. There's one down. We listed a whole bunch of strikers that are going to be on the market.
Yeah.
And, he was more at the bottom of the market. Not he was a bottom striker, but because of the news on Sesko Osimhen and Gyökeres being maybe the main three, and Vlahovic and some of the others that were there. But, I think it's a very good signing.
I just wonder where and how.
Jackson's off, isn't he?
Well, I mean, look. First and foremost, they're going to have to make room. They've got too many players anyway. I'm sure Chelsea will do that, and Chelsea have got a track record for what it's worth of being able to get basically most of their money back that they sort of maybe misspent, or players that didn't necessarily perform and hit the ground running at Chelsea. They seem to be able to maintain that value, which other teams don't seem to always get on the resale. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all works out. I do imagine that Nkunku's and certainly Nicholas Jackson's time, that they must be looking over their shoulder now, wondering, what's their position. Remember, Nkunku got a goal just a couple of days ago in the Club World Cup, so he's just getting going again. And then it's probably looking like it's time at the bar for him. What will be fascinating, though, mate, is if you sit there and you think, Joao Pedro's cost £50 million. What does that do for the price market? We've been sitting there sort of trying to figure out between us, scratching our heads saying, is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? If Joao Pedro is valued at 50 plus and add-ons, then does that validate the next story about Gyokeres and the and his crazy words that are coming out from him? We're going to come to that in just a story. The valuation that Van der has placed on the Sporting on the striker. What about players like Sesko? You mentioned a second ago that Joao Pedro was at the bottom of that list, not necessarily on talent, but just on the kind of in terms of the kind of vocalizations of interest.
Yeah,
Newcastle United didn't get their guy; they were looking at him as well. I just wonder now whether that domino has fallen. Has that reshaped the pricing mechanisms of players that are participating in the same kind of merry-go-round? Does Sesko now go up to 65, 70, or is £50 million the right price for Joao Pedro and everything else stays the same?
I don't think it'd be 50. It's more like it says over 50. I think the number will come out. I reckon it's more like 55 because I'm sure they refused 50 million. So it's more like 55 plus add-ons. Brighton are going to need a replacement. Danny Welbeck is not going to be doing it. They bought this the new 18-year-old wonder kid from Greece. Paid a lot of money for him. An exceptional talent, but I can't see him sort of leading the line just now. Be interesting to see what they do. Chelsea, it's almost as if Brighton are a feeder club for Chelsea. I'd love to know the total amount of transfer fees received by Brighton from Chelsea. It must be well over 250 million, I reckon, by now.
Yeah.
I like to have a look at it on another show. But listen, I think the dominoes have started to fall. That's gone. Newcastle haven't got one of the players they thought they could probably get because they were out of the market for the other three.
Yeah. As a third consideration here, not to sort of take up too much time, but maybe this gives a bit of life back into Evan Ferguson, who might have another crack at the whip. I don't know if that guy's necessarily materialised. And certainly, I think we've got to sort of factor in here that João Felix has just returned from his loan spell back to Chelsea, so he'll be looking for another home as well. Although where he goes next, we shall see. But mate, it certainly does put up the this at the same time as that story's dropping. This other story is dropping as well, which is well, I'm going to start with a little bit of the stuff that came out. I think it was yesterday, which was the quotes from the Sporting director, Van der As, I think his name is, Can you see that on the screen? Now speaking ahead of Sporting's General Assembly, Veranda, has provided another update on Gyokeres and his future. Sporting does not need to sell Gyokeres, he told Ebola. We have already passed the stage where we had to sell our best assets. We do not have to sell him. In the same way that we do not have to sell him, we are still sensitive to Viktor's dreams. Sporting has a commitment made by the president not to ask for the value of the termination clause and to be reasonable in relation to Viktor's performance last season. If you ask me today, there is a strong possibility that Viktor will leave. In the last few weeks, we have been keeping an eye on the market. I saw a player like Zubamendi, who is 6 months younger than Viktor, go to Arsenal for 65 million euros. I saw two players being sold in the Premier League, Cunha and Mbumo, who do not have the quality of Viktor, in my opinion, was sold for around 70 million euros. We are talking about players who are 26 years old. So given the demands we are making in relation to Viktor's clause, I believe he could leave unless he had the worst agent in the world, which I find hard to believe. I won't say what the price we asked for. It was communicated to the agent, but I can guarantee that Viktor will not leave for 60 plus 10. Viktor already knows, and I want Sporting fans to take advantage of this summer, in which they are two-time champions, in which they have a double to celebrate, to be calm, because there are only two scenarios. One club respects the price requested by Sporting, and Viktor will fulfill his dreams. And from that moment, we will be ready to attack the targets, or that club does not want Viktor, and Viktor with a 3-year contract stays at Sporting, and we will be very happy. I have been in football for 20 years and have already experienced countless transfer dramas. The transfer window is a cure for any ill. Disgruntled players are not a problem. Viktor staying will not be a problem for us. It will be a problem for our opponents. So that was the first thing that he said, right? That came out yesterday. And then this news has just dropped in the last 20 minutes. Following Sporting president quotes, Viktor Gyokeres has no intention to come back and play again. Gyokeres already informed the club about it, as per Record Portugal. The Swedish striker insists on the pact made last year over the summer exit, I think that's supposed to be, now feeling betrayed and tired.
Let me tell you something. The old "I'm not leaving" from Leonardo DiCaprio in the film is now "I am leaving," and then they're standing there, but they're all booing. I am leaving.
I'm leaving. You can't stop me.
You can't stop me. But the thing is, he's on a contract, mate. You sign the contract.
3-year contract.
Well, he's got 3 years left.
3 years left. 3 years left.
Signed a 5-year contract. You were happy to sign it. You need to blame your agent, basically. I think the club are right. Why should just like we talk about other clubs? Why should they lower their asking fee just because they demand it? That's what they value him. Based on
it depends what was said last summer, Johnny, doesn't it, mate? Like if he said last summer, and we will never know, but if it was interpreted last summer that, listen, if I put in a good shift, if I give you what you want this year, will you let me go for a reasonable price? And that price was 60 to 70 million. If that was shaken hands on, not formally agreed, but shaken hands on, a gentleman's agreement, but it was specified. Yeah. If I do this, you let me go for this, and then you backtracked and reneged, then you look like you're Daniel Levy. I think did this to Harry Kane, at least according to the rumors, right? Yeah. That you basically look like your word doesn't mean anything. If it was left up in the air, open to interpretation, like, yeah, look, if I do a good job for you, you'll let me go for reasonable money, but no specifics, then obviously with new information comes the ability to have flexibility of thought. It's not a flip-flop, it's new information. And the new information is, as the guy Van der Ass has laid out, the other market, the transfer market is doing what it's doing. And if Joao Pedro is going for 50 million quid, mate, then Gyokeres is worth a hell of a lot more than 58 million quid or whatever that price is, right? So
100%. Look, at the end of the day, if I'm go to a job and my boss says to me, "Oh, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. I'm going to give you a pay rise, and I'm going to promote you at the end of the month, at the end of the season, and when we go into the next year, what would you ask for? You'd ask for it in writing, not just shake your hand. Oh yeah, well I've changed my mind. How many times have people said they'll do X, Y, Z, and then it doesn't happen? Circumstances change, and unfortunately, in this situation, I don't blame the selling club, Sporting Lisbon. You sign a contract, pay up. You know, you can't be whining about it. Unfortunately, it's the way it goes. That's why they have contracts. You have to honour the contract, or the club that wants to buy. If it's Arsenal or if it's Liverpool, they've got to pay up. Liverpool.
What do you think the new price is?
I think £70 million.
So like 78, 77 million euros, something like that, yeah?
Yeah, 80 million euros, something like that. Yeah. I don't think it's unreasonable. Just see Florian
I don't think
Wirtz.
it's unreasonable either.
I've seen Florian Wirtz go for that money. They want over £80 million for Sesko. I'm not being funny. You know,
Manchester United wants £70 million
yeah,
for Garnacho.
Well, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I know who I'd rather have. I think whoever gets Gyökeres gets a goal machine and guaranteed goals. And that's why he's worth every single penny. The clubs that are buying it know it. The clubs that are selling, Sporting know it. And therefore, pay up or shut up. That's how the transfer window goes. You can't, you know, this isn't like the old days of Real Madrid where they used to, you know, grind away so they could get their price. That's their price. Go and pay it, or he'll be playing for Sporting next year. And if he doesn't turn up for Sporting next year, he's not going to end up getting paid. He's going to end up getting fined. It's going to end up costing him. I understand he's upset. He's continued scoring. He's a bit like sort of the Harry Kane scenario where everyone thought it was a one-season wonder. You know, Brighton sold him for Frippen's one of the few mistakes that they made, selling him to Coventry. You know, no one thought that he would continue in this goal scoring pattern, and he's been a smash hit. And you know, he's done it in Europe as well. And I think whoever gets him is getting a great striker. No question.
Just quickly though, is there any like not my concern about this, but like I think it's a worthwhile consideration. If you have someone that does put his feet up or does like, you know, essentially sulk, then and stand true to his own word, right? Which is I'm not playing for you again. I'm done, which is apparently what he said.
Yeah.
Does that also suggest that you have someone who's got a bit of a petulant personality that maybe would put you off owning him because, okay, you might be the benefactor of that petulance in the short term to get him in, but he might treat you the same way in a year's time if Real Madrid come calling in 24 months or 12 months time, no matter who you are. If you're United, if you're Arsenal, if you're, you know, Liverpool even, I think when Real Madrid come calling, then they want their guy. There's a pecking order. And so I don't know. I think it's worth calling out that if the guy is acting like this to try and get his way, he's doing the kind of like a child stamping his feet, then is that just a one-off to get his move, or is that a sign of a difficult personality?
Well, look, you know, Real Madrid wanted them to release Trent before the Club World Cup. Liverpool said, well, if you want it, you got to pay. And they said, well, we don't want to pay. Well, then don't have him. It's up to you. So they made him pay an extra 10 million. I know it's only 10 million, but 10 million for like, you know, a couple of weeks or 3 weeks.
At no point did Trent Alexander-Arnold disrespect.
Correct. But that's the difference, right? That's the difference. That was Real Madrid trying to disrespect Liverpool.
Yeah.
And look, the agent 100% has spoken to clubs, and no doubt the clubs have said, we're not prepared to pay X, we'll pay this fee. Okay. And he's set him in motion. Bad advice from your agent is what I would say, because that's not the way to do it. It's not the way to do it.
We shall see how this story unfolds. We'll be back tomorrow, guys, for another episode on the live stream of the Transfer News and Clues.
Guys, hit the like buttons, please.
Smash the like, smash the subscribe. Let us know in the comments, where do you see him ending up? Is he going to be a Sporting player next year? Is this all just kind of shenanigans to try to engineer a move? But even if it doesn't happen, because we know that Sporting's chairman, Varandas, is sort of like the European version of Daniel Levy. He's not for budging. We shall see. Rock and a hard place time here, guys.
Where are you going, Sean? I'm going to say Liverpool.
I'm going to say Arsenal.
Yeah. Both are possible.
I don't think it'll be at Sporting in the end, but I think Varandas is going to drag this one out for a while. We shall see you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for stopping by. Like, subscribe, and comment, all that jazz. See you tomorrow. And as always, it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from him. Or him.